Hi guys, it's Kathy. I hope you're doing well. So I have a snippet from my live stream that was earlier today, and I'm going to put the full link in the description for you. But this is the prosecutor says it perfectly. This is why victims don't come forward. This is why they don't say, hey, he did this. The defense attorney, I only took a small snippet of what he said during the trial, humiliates her, pulls her apart. Every little thing is a lie. And he just humiliates her for over and over and over again for a long time. And you're going to see a prosecutor try to overcome that in front of the jury.
Not change that the burden of proof in a criminal trial rests solely with the state of Indiana. My client, Douglas Jones, and I aren't obligated to prove anything. They have to prove my client's guilt. We do not have to prove Doug's innocence. We also heard from Nancy Grant, who talked about the signs and symptoms of strangulation. And one of the most telltale signs to show that somebody has been strangled is whether or not they urinated or defecated themselves. And as Nancy Grant explained to you, that is because when you start to become unconscious from being strangled, your body is starting to shut down. And you lose the ability to control the contractions of the parts of your body that would normally stop that from happening. That is why somebody who's being strangled can lose the ability to control their bodies. Handed him these exhibits, and this is defense exhibit A. And I said, okay, well, if she never told you about it, Officer Paulson, this is from your body camera. Please show the ladies and gentlemen of this jury in defense exhibit A where you can see defecation on these white or light gray pajama bottoms of Anna. Initially, he told me, I don't see it. On redirect from the state, Ms. Campoli got him to say, well, there appears to be some discoloration here on her rear end near her leg. Gentlemen, that's a shadow. Make no mistake about it.
Prove it.
Which is what she told me happened during her deposition, and not even a little bit. Do not think for a minute that in defense exhibit A, that shadow on the back of her pants has anything to do with defecation. So then I showed him defense exhibit B. Can you please tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury or point out to them where on the front of her pants you see urination or defecation? Again, it's not there. Even if you see a little bit of a shadow, that's what that is. It is a shadow. That's it. It is not a sign or symptom of urination or defecation. And then I said, how about on the bed, where she claims she laid in her own urine and feces? Where on the bed do you see evidence of urine or defecation? And he said, I don't. And so I asked him, okay, did you notice it when you got there? No. Did you smell any feces or urine on either Anna or the bed once you got there? No. The only thing he told you he smelled was alcohol on her breath and the pungent odor of smoke. Feces and urine are very distinct smells that he would have noticed had they existed. Same thing with defense exhibit C. Nowhere on this bed with light coloring and white sheets do you see any evidence that Anna Dunn either urinated or defecated herself. Why? I'll tell you, if it's not obvious already, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. Because I asked Officer Paulson If you had noticed or smelled urine or feces, either on her or on the bed, is something that you would have put in your report. Yes.
You know what he's not showing you? The picture that the prosecutor showed of the red marks on her neck from where his hand was, and the scratches on her neck from when she is trying to pull his hand off of her neck. Oh, ignore those pictures. They're nothing. Show me. You need to see this horrible picture of this bad orange sheet to put your point across.
Did you put that in your report? No. Why? Because I didn't notice anything like that, and she sure as heck didn't tell me anything along those lines. And I'm telling you, it's important because 4 months after Anna Dunn claimed she was strangled by Doug Jones to the point where she urinated and defecated herself and was fighting for her life, I took her deposition. Again, remember, back in August, when she says my client strangled her, at no point in time when the police got there did she ever mention anything about urinating or defecating herself due to the strangulation. Then for the first time, in January of this year, when I took her deposition, she full-throatedly went to that particular allegation, something she did not mention at the scene. And she fully committed to that. Because if you recall her testimony today, when I reminded her of what she told me during her deposition, she told me 4 months later, I urinated, I pooped myself, I had poo everywhere. I'm not trying to be disgusting here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not trying to paint a picture, a gross picture for you in your mind.
You are being disgusting, just not for the reason you think.
Dad, those are her words. Those aren't mine. Those are hers. That's how she described her condition on August the 9th of 2024. So I want to draw your attention to Defendant's Exhibit E. Now, this is
He's not done humiliating her. Now he has to, take photos of the house too.
the photograph of the kitchen where Anna claims that my client strangled her and there was a huge struggle, right? She's fighting for her life, is how she described it. She's trying to get my client off of her. And I want you to notice something because she claimed, and she told us today, that she didn't put this stuff back, right? So take a look at Defendant's Exhibit E. Look at the kitchen where she says this happened. Look at the sink. There's a rug down here that is undisturbed. There are items on the countertop that are undisturbed. There is a washcloth draped right over the sink where she claimed my client had her bent over backwards, strangling her to within an inch of her life as she's fighting back. Look at how pristine this is. And when I asked her how,
I believe she was strangled. I do. I believe she was strangled. I just think that she was strangled here. Because how did that stay? The wind blows and mine is on the floor. Okay, it's the cat's, but mine is on the floor. So I think that she was right here. However, look at the rug. These two things bother me a lot because, okay, these are far enough back. I think that she could get strangled and not knock all them over. I can see that. This is a little harder to swallow, and this is a little harder to swallow because rugs in the kitchen, they slide everywhere. But I know there's scratch marks on her going down on her neck. I can't remember if he has scratch marks on him.
is it that these things are still in the same place and undisturbed if my client was strangling you to within an inch of your life? I don't know. I can't explain it.
I do know what you didn't see here, but you do see during my live stream is directly behind this picture is the kitchen table. And one of the chairs are knocked over and the vase on the table is knocked over. So there is signs behind them just not right here.
Well, I can explain it. It didn't happen. It just didn't happen. Just like she didn't urinate herself, and just like she didn't defecate herself. Ms. Campoli said that Anna couldn't remember things and she didn't know why. I know why. I hope you know why. It's because she was making things up as she went along, and she couldn't remember things that she'd said in the past to make sure that she was being consistent today. Other inconsistencies. Anna told Officer Paulson that my client slapped her in the face in addition to strangling her. When I asked Officer Paulson if he saw any evidence to corroborate that, he said no, that he didn't see any evidence that that had happened. When I took Anna's deposition and I asked her that same question, she said no, he didn't smack me or slap me. He strangled me, but he didn't do that.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly why victims don't come forward. This is exactly why it is easier to stay quiet, stay with your abuser, take it to your grave. That's why. This is a common defense tactic, the smoke and mirrors. The smoke. You can't see what you're actually seeing. The mirrors. What you're seeing is not real. This is not what you're seeing. That's a common defense tactic. We understand Mr. Aldenhoff is doing his job. But this is what happens. And this is why it's unfair for victims. We lay out the evidence for you to see. The defense comes in and brings the smoke and mirrors. They want to distract you from the defendant's choices and his actions and focus solely on the victims. Again, this is why victims don't come forward.
She's not wrong. She's not wrong. I would certainly not want to be humiliated like that in front of the jury, just to prove that I was right. And getting help is worse. You have to prove. And we live in America, so you are innocent until proven guilty. You are, but when a victim comes forward and he spends an hour pulling her apart because she didn't do one sign of strangulation that he thinks she should have. And atomically speaking, not atomically, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Anyway, like it would be possible as a female for me to do that and it not show up on the front of my pants. That would not make sense. I mean, if I was sitting down, I could see it on the back of my pants. But if I am standing up, being strangled, like it would go down my legs. You would see it at the bottom of my pants. You would see it way down at the bottom. You might see you would definitely wouldn't see any at the top. Definitely. It would be down way at the bottom. So you couldn't see that shot clearly. And it doesn't mean that when she said that there was a lot, it could have been a little bit. But instead she was humiliated the whole time. And he was found guilty. And not only that, if you watch my live stream, when the police came for that, he was already a felon and he opened the door holding a gun. So he was really, really guilty. All right, guys, thanks for coming out. I'll see you again soon. Bye.